Part 58. I started my cultivation by picking up the immortal skills. Author, Banzuan Xianxia. Chapter 571. Above the magic weapon is the spiritual weapon. Spiritual weapons are divided into 4 levels: ordinary, inferior, medium, and superior. But compared with the realm of monks corresponding to magical weapons, spiritual weapons are not so particular. The grade of a spiritual weapon is judged by 2 points. One is the power of the weapon spirit, and the other is the refining materials. Superior spiritual weapons are already the most powerful magic weapons for monks. Xianxia spent countless efforts to build this fire dragon staff. In terms of materials, it is considered top-notch in the mortal world, but it is nothing in the spiritual world. As for refining the fire dragon into a weapon spirit, he waited for him to enter the spirit world. After breaking through to the stage of divine transformation, he devoted himself to warming and nourishing the weapon spirit, thereby evolving the fire dragon staff into a superior spiritual weapon. The fire dragon knows so much just because he comes from the spiritual world. In the spiritual world, there are many spiritual beasts. Many spiritual weapons are actually made using special techniques to extract the souls of spirit beasts and then refine them. The technique is exactly the same as Xianxia's. In other words, the spiritual beasts in the spiritual world have a more miserable life than the monster beasts. This is the reason. Back then, the fire dragon almost had his soul taken away and his soul refined, but was later saved by the fire dragon ancestor. But at that time, the ancestor was only in the stage of becoming a god, and he was just a slightly more powerful ant in the spiritual world. He was chased all the way and later fled to Hualong Mountain. In order to recuperate, he founded the Fire Dragon sect and recruited many disciples to prepare for his return to the spiritual world. As for leaving the Fire Dragon here as a mountain guardian beast, it is unclear whether he wants to continue the inheritance of the Fire Dragon sect. Master, please forgive me for being rude, I apologize to you. The fire dragon immediately surrendered and not only called his master, but also called himself the Little One. Zuyun sneered, hurry up and lead the way. Yes, yes, yes. The fire dragon suppressed the horror in his heart. He knew very well that if Zuyun wanted to survive, all he had to do was hand him back to Xianxia, which would have a great chance of gaining a chance of survival. But since he didn't hand it over, it shows that he is still valuable. Does he want to go to the spirit world? Huo Jiao's mind also became somewhat active. If this is the case, telling him about the situation in Tianweishan is not a bad idea. But for now, let's get things done first and prove that I am completely obedient to him. There are even immortal weapons, and they are hidden so deeply. This master is by no means an easy person to get along with. Being good at hiding his weakness is enough to prove that his city is not shallower than Xianxia's. The fire dragon no longer had other thoughts. After seeing Zuyun put away the chaos sword again, he concentrated on leading the way. After twisting and turning under the earth vein, I finally heard the fire dragon reminding me, Master, if you go further up, you will reach the Dan Cave earth vein of Dan Pavilion. We need to pass here and then take a detour. How long do we have to go? Zuyun asked. 1 hour is enough. If the fire dragon could reveal itself, he would definitely pat his chest and promise Zuyun. Let's go. An hour later, the cracks in the earth veins began to rise all the way up. He felt that the earth vein fire around him became a little thinner, and Zuyun couldn't help but cheer up. At this time, he has been using the fire escape technique. Although the consumption of spiritual power is very small, he has been here for a long time and is still a little tired. In addition, he also needs to pay attention to whether the fire dragon staff will be sensed by Xianxia. After just thinking for a moment, he said, I will put you away first, and I will go to the place of confinement myself to prevent Xianxia from discovering you. Yes, master. Huo Jiao didn't dare to complain at all and relied entirely on Zhu Yun's orders. Throwing the fire dragon staff into the ring again, Zhu Yun concentrated on observing his surroundings. The fire power here is much weaker, and it is impossible for other disciples to practice here. Taking advantage of the fire escape technique, although he was not easily discovered, he was at odds with the fire dragon sect and could only do one last act before escaping. Fortunately, until he popped his head out of the cracks here, no one was seen, and he couldn't help but breathe a sigh of relief. By the way, it's definitely not possible for me to live like this. As the fire dragon has said, Xianxia is not easy to deal with. He is very smart. After thinking for a moment, Zhu Yun took out a talisman of changing the world and put it on his forehead. Then he crawled out of the crack in the ground and planned to find someone to find out where the place of confinement was. But after walking a few steps, I heard a sound coming from mid-air, and it turned out to be Mr. Dan's. Nishang, why do you have to practice in this small crack in the ground? That's right, Zhu Yun changed into Lian Nishang's appearance. And coincidentally, my Ike passed by here. Originally, he was in seclusion in Dan Cave, but due to the sect incident, he had no thoughts and hurriedly came to have a meeting with all the nascent souls. After finally discussing some things, he was about to go back to the Dan Cave to continue retreat, but he happened to run into Lian Nishang. Little did he know that this Lian Nishang was disguised as Zhu Yun. For it. Zhu Yun's mind was spinning rapidly, and he quickly found an excuse and said, "Master, this disciple wanted to find something to do with the young sect master. When he happened to pass by this place, he suddenly had an idea in his heart, so he simply entered it to practice." "Are you looking for Xianxia?" Elder Dan was a little surprised, looked at Zhu Yun deeply, and then said, "The young sect leader is now in the sect master's hall." "Ah, wasn't he imprisoned by the sect master? Why is he in the sect master's hall again now?" Zhu Yun was surprised and keenly felt that something must have happened to the fire dragon sect. "He is in confinement." However, many disciples from outside the sect disappeared for no reason, so the elders asked the young sect master to come out and make some decisions. "By the way, why are you looking for the young sect master? Could it be about the engagement? Or should I say?" At this point, Elder E lowered his voice and said, "You want to kill the sect leader while he's away?" Zhu Yun quickly denied it and said, "Master, actually I want to find Xianxia." His first reaction was that Xianxia was in the sect master's hall, and there were a group of nascent souls discussing things together. It was impossible for him to make a sneak attack. He might as well go find Xianxia. Firstly, he could fool Elder Dan, and secondly, he could get help from Xianxia. Get some information and then make plans. Xianxia is still there, just go up there. "But Nishang, my master has always felt that Xianxia has ulterior motives in his heart. You must not be deceived by her. Otherwise, the master will not let you be in the secret of the Book of Heaven. Break through the nascent soul stage and kill them both." "Master, don't worry, I will definitely help you do something good." Zhu Yun was afraid of being exposed, so he wanted to leave. But Elder Dan sighed and said, "Nishang, the major direct descendants of the fire dragon sect, the Shan family and the Lian family have shown their weakness. If I hadn't accepted you as my disciple, I'm afraid that both families would have lost their inheritance. The Qi family and Tai elder, as a teacher, I can survive for a while with the alchemy method, but you." Zhu Yun was speechless for a while. He couldn't answer these words and could only remain silent. But Dan Lao began to reminisce and talk about the past in his mouth. This statement is enough to describe the time of a stick of incense. It's not like Zhu Yun left, it's not like staying. But for now, he can only stay, but because of this, knowing some of the past of the fire dragon sect, he can't help but sigh in his heart. The Lian family has been passed down for 9 generations. After Lian Nishang came to Lian Nishang, a daughter was born and the incest was discontinued. When it came to the generation of Dan Lao, all the descendants of the Shan family died unexpectedly, and no one could find the reason. Under such circumstances, Elixir accepted Lian Nishang as his disciple. He didn't say the purpose. But Zhu Yun was guessing that Elder Dan might have an ulterior motive. But for what purpose, he couldn't guess, and he didn't want to guess. But I couldn't help but think of Lian Nishang in the alms bowl, and I thought that after I rescued her from the alms bowl, I would tell her these things, and then let her make her own decision. Master, I have lost my composure. Elder Dan came back to his senses and said, anyway, before the secret realm of the heavenly book is opened, you must disguise yourself well. Whether it is the Shan family or the Lian family, if you want to live peacefully in the Fire Dragon sect, the Zhone family must pay the price. That's why I want you to break through the nascent soul stage at all costs. In fact, it's just to get some interest. Do you understand? Zhu Yun thought, what can I do? I can only pretend to understand. When Elder Dan saw Zhu Yun nodding, with a look of relief on his face, he turned and left. Taking a long breath, Zhu Yun looked behind him. He saw a mountain peak hanging in the distance, and on the top of the mountain, there was a cave. It should be there, he threw all distracting thoughts out of his mind and moved towards that direction. Whether to kill Xianxia or not depends on the situation later. If Xianxia doesn't discover his true identity and can get the location of the entry beads, Zhu Yun doesn't want to be exposed. But he was accustomed to preparing for the worst in everything. As a last resort, he would choose to kill Xianxia, and then pretend to be her and go find Zhongjiangjia. Soon, Zhu Yun went up the slope. Dressed in fiery red, he stood out through the clouds and mist. He was spotted by Xianxia as soon as he reached halfway up the mountain. Nishang, why are you here? Xianxia was a little surprised. Zhu Yun was even more surprised. You must know that when he first saw the meeting between the two, Lian Nishang just let go of the harsh words, but he never thought that Xianxia would treat it as if it had not happened, which caught him off guard. Isn't this too shameless? No wonder Elder Dan kept reminding him, and even the Fire Dragon said that Xianxia seemed difficult to deal with, so he had better use the Fire Dragon staff to beat Xianxia to death. Nishang, do you still remember what happened a few months ago? It's all my fault. I'm also worried about my brother. Xianxia looked apologetic and reached out to hug Zhu Yun's shoulders as a gesture of goodwill. But the talisman of changing the world relies on the spiritual power in the talisman to create false illusions on the body. If it is touched by hands, clues will definitely be revealed. In desperation, Zhu Yun quickly slapped Xianxia's hand away. This action made Zhong Yingping feel a flash of cruelty in his heart, and even more murderous. But for the sake of her plan to break through the nascent soul stage in the future, Xianxia endured it and even said aggrievedly, Nishang, do you still hold a grudge against me? If that's the case, just give me a good beating. As long as you calm down, that's it. As she spoke, she actually squeezed out a few tears, which shocked Zhu Yun. During the elixir formation period, you actually cried? This is too fake. Seeing Zhu Yun's expression, Xianxia sneered in her heart. She was acting like this because she had figured out Lian Nishang's temperament. Little did he know that the Lian Nishang in front of him was Zhu Yun in disguise. Nishang, hit me hard. As long as you calm down, I will feel better. Xianxia continued, but how could Zhu Yun do this? Immediately, he said, I heard that before the sect master left, he gave all the entrance beads to you. I am afraid that you will not give it to me, so I want to ask for one. When the heavenly book secret realm is opened, I will go there by myself. Nichang, aren't you going with us? Xianxia was shocked. If they don't go in together, they may be separated in the secret realm. How can they make plans then? I didn't say that. I just thought that I would feel more at ease if the entrance beads were in my hands. Zhu Yun's words made Xianxia's heart flash with a cold light, and she made up her mind and prepared to act in advance. So, she said, the entrance beads are in the cave, otherwise, you can go with me to get them. Zhu Yun said lightly, okay. Xianxia felt that Lian Nichang in front of her was a little different from usual, but she had already moved her murderous intentions. She didn't think much about it anymore. She subconsciously reached into her arms and touched the beads hidden in advance. She was lying quietly in her arms. I started my cultivation by picking up the immortal skills. Author, Banzuan Xianxia. Chapter 572. Xianxia wanted to kill Lian Nishang. But not this time. Because the Yuanyin in Lian Nishang is also what she wants. However, as a female cultivator, she cannot take it directly, only through Zhongjiangjia. This is why she has been helping her brother to seize Lian Nishang's Yuanyin, and even regards Lian Nishang as a forbidden wife even more than Zhongjiangjia. Xianxia and Zhongjiangjia were twin brothers and sisters. She had never understood why Zhongjiangjia became the brother and she was the sister, even though they acted at the same time. Forget it, since he was a child, Zhongjingguo has always only had eyes for his brother. Even though her cultivation talent is far superior to Zhongjiangjia. Over the past 100 years, the resentment in her heart has become more and more serious. But there is no way. She didn't have enough strength, so she could only endure it. But now, the time has finally arrived. Originally, she planned to wait until the secret realm of the Book of Heaven was opened. But now the Lian Nishang in her eyes came to her door, and she decided to advance her plan. Nishang, I buried the entrance beads under the corner of the stone wall. Just go and get it. Xianxia said with a smile. How many are there? Zhu Yun didn't know it was a scam. After all, even the nascent soul stage could not be seen carefully, let alone Xianxia's Dan formation stage. What's more, he didn't reveal any flaws. But he didn't expect that because of this, Xianxia would want to do something to him. However, Xianxia has been good at hiding her thoughts since she was a child. She did not make a surprise attack when Zhu Yun turned around. Instead, she chose to take action only when Zhu Yun had just taken out the 3 entry beads wrapped in a piece of silk. Nishang, what do you think this is? Zhu Yun just stood up and felt 3 beads in the silk in his hand. He was still wondering why there were not 4, or just 1, when Xianxia suddenly spoke. He subconsciously turned around, but a fire phoenix suddenly appeared from the cave and rushed towards him. Such a close distance and such a small range, he couldn't escape at all. In desperation, Zhu Yun chose to carry it out. Liwo! He roared in his heart, stretched out his right hand suddenly, and the pure spiritual power in the fire spirit bead came out majestically, turned into a pillar of fire, and met the fire phoenix. Boom! When the fire pillar left his hand, it split into 5, forming 5 fire dragons, which instantly collided with the mountain phoenix. Xianxia's face changed slightly and she said in surprise, Lian Nishang, when did you learn such magical powers? Although the Liwo curse is also a fire-based skill, it has nothing to do with the fire dragon sect. But this was both fire and dragon, which made her think it was a unique skill of the fire dragon sect. She is also a female cultivator. Why can she learn it but I have never been exposed to it? Looking at the fire dragon, it was obviously stronger than her fire phoenix. The jealousy in Xianxia's heart became more intense. She danced with her hand again and shot a flame towards Zhu Yun. Xianxia, what are you doing? Zhu Yun shouted angrily that she didn't know Xianxia's motives. Looking at this momentum, it seems that he is going to kill her. Those who kill will always be killed. Zhu Yun also showed his murderous intention, and while shouting angrily, he also poured out fire spiritual power crazily. In terms of realm, she is weaker than Xianxia. but the spiritual power of the fire spirit pearl was extracted from the earth's veins, which helped him relatively close the gap. Faced with such an unexpected incident, Xianxia did not panic. She thought calmly and knew that she would not be able to succeed today. And she has also been exposed. If she still wants to get the Yuanyan to refine Nishang, she may have to do something else. This is why Xianxia kept an entry bead on herself. A cold light flashed in his eyes, and Lian Nishang turned into a fire phoenix and rushed straight to the entrance of the cave. Want to run? Zuyun's eyes narrowed and he wanted to chase after him. But as soon as I came out of the cave, I felt several rays of nascent soul spiritual consciousness coming towards here. He secretly thought it was bad, the two of them were fighting just now, and there was quite a lot of noise. If he is carefully examined, if he is found to be a fake Lian Nishang, I am afraid things will not be that simple. Moreover, Dan always knew he was coming here. Zuyun made a decision immediately after just thinking about it for less than a breath. She quickly returned to the cave, buried an entry bead back in the cave, and placed two of them herself. Then she tore off the heaven-changing talisman on her forehead, took out another one, and stuck it on her forehead. Just after finishing all this, several nascent souls fell outside the cave. Mye Lao bears the brunt. Xianxia, how can you fight with others when you are in confinement here? While he was talking, Amir had already rushed directly into the cave. Facing Zhongjiangjao, everyone would call him young sect master if they were polite. But he addressed Xianxia by his first name, thus demonstrating Xianxia's status in the sect. Where's the neon clothes? Elder Dan didn't see Lian Nishang, so he couldn't help being stunned and looked up. That's right, this Xianxia was transformed by Zuyun using the talisman of changing heaven and earth. Elder Dan, Nishang left long ago. Just now, someone suddenly sneaked in and took away the 3 portal beads when I wasn't prepared. Zuyun lowered his eyes and pointed to the corner of the cave. There, a bead was lying quietly, and the other nascent soul elders had just entered it at this time. When they heard that the entrance bead had been robbed, their expressions changed. The secret realm of the heavenly book is related to the rise and fall of the sect, and is also closely related to their interests. Being robbed of beads is equivalent to being robbed of quota. Elder Dan said in shock and anger, who robbed it? Is it the master of the demon sect? Zuyun didn't know what the leader of the demon sect meant. He had no intention of throwing the blame randomly, but shook his head and said, it's Gao Qiao, the disciple from the previous day. Is it him? He is still hiding in the fire dragon sect. All the nascent soul elders were shocked. Zhong Jingguo had already said in the valley that Gao Qiao's identity was suspicious, but at that time Tianzhenzi and the 13th elder were all gone, so there was no way to verify it. Because of this, Zuyun deliberately pushed it on himself to divert their attention. And what these people thought was exactly what he expected. Elder Dan frowned, no longer paying attention to Zuyun, but turned around and said, the sect master went to the beast pet pavilion. I am afraid that the young sect master cannot make a decision on this matter. I wonder who can go to the beast pet pavilion. The third elder said solemnly, when the sect master left, he said he would come back after finishing some work. From what I can see, the pretended Takahashi probably won't be able to escape very far. Why don't we go search for him? There's no way he can. Will he be able to hide better than the demon sect leader? The other elders also echoed. The disciples would definitely not dare to send out again, but it would not be a bad idea for their nascent soul to do so. Even if he really encounters the demon sect master again, he will only be at the peak of the late stage of pill formation, and at best he can only be considered as a half-infant, so he can be dealt with calmly. They are all old monsters who have lived for hundreds or thousands of years. Who is not a cunning person? Elder Dan also knew that he couldn't control them at all, but at least he reached a consensus, so he nodded and said, let's go and inform the young sect master. All the nascent souls flew towards the sect master's hall, but Dan Lao returned to the cave, stretched out his hand and danced, took away the entrance bead in the air, and then said, Xianxia, sect master will have 4 beads. I leave it to you for safekeeping, but it's not good for you to keep it yourself. This bead belongs to my disciple Nishang. If I leave it to you again, I'm afraid he will come and steal it, so I'll take it away first. After that, he turned around and left regardless of the expression on Zuyun's face. It wasn't until all the people in the cave dispersed that Zuyun breathed a sigh of relief and sat slumped on the ground. Finally got through it. He left a bead behind just to explain something. But, what is the situation of the demon sect leader they are talking about? Could it be Wuchideo? Zuyun thought that he suspected Wuchideo. But Wuchideo was suppressed by himself at the foot of Muling Holy Mountain. After much thought, Zuyun decided to go to Muling Holy Mountain again. However, this is not a good time, so we can only stay here temporarily to prevent changes. He was very sure that Xianxia ran away. After all, attacking Lian Nishang was not only a violation of the sect's rules, but it could also be seen from Elder Dan's attitude towards her. If he were Xianxia, he would never stay here and run as far as he could. In this way, I can stay as Xianxia for a while and wait until the news passes before leaving. Anyway, those 2 entry beads are enough for myself and Lian Nishang to go to the secret realm of the Book of Heaven. After sorting out his thoughts, Zuyun felt relieved and simply stayed in the cave. Normally no one would bother him, so it would be a good time for him to study the method of making weapons. Taking out the experience that Yan Laoxi left for him, Zuyun looked at it carefully for a while, and then heard a whistling sound. Who's coming again? Zuyun frowned and heard someone rush into the cave furiously. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. I started my cultivation by picking up the immortal skills. Author, Banzuan Xianxia. Chapter 573. Little sister, I heard that the entrance beads were robbed. The person coming is none other than Xianxia. Just now, in the sect master's hall, he was having a dream of spring and autumn, but when he heard the elders say that Zuyun had snatched the entrance beads, he immediately became anxious, abandoned them and ran over. For him, the bead of entrance is not only the bead that allows him to enter the secret realm of the heavenly book, but also the bead that allows him to enter the nascent soul stage. Only by entering the secret realm of the Book of Heaven can he have the opportunity to plot against Lian Nishang and seize his nascent soul. Yes, he was robbed. Upon hearing this, Xianxia's face suddenly turned pale. How could this happen? How could this happen? He stomped back and forth, muttering in his mouth, and suddenly rushed up and roared, It's all your fault. I said I put the beads here. Now it's fine. 1 bead is gone. How can I enter the secret realm of the Book of Heaven? How to seize the Yuanyan that refines Nishang? How to break through the nascent soul stage? Zuyun was shocked and suddenly realized. But before he could appreciate the meaning of these words, he saw Xianxia rushing out again, and disappeared in the blink of an eye. Of course, Zuyun couldn't keep up, but began to think about what he said. He and Lian Nishang were engaged and became a Taoist couple, so it was natural and reasonable to do things on the human level. Then, Xianxia can use magical powers such as seizing the yin to help him break through the nascent soul stage in one fell swoop. The key is that he wants to seize, in the secret realm of the Book of Heaven. This makes it clear that Zhong Jingguo also wants Xianxia to seize the Book of Heaven. Then Xianxia will naturally be his helper. As for the situation of refining Nishang, although the process is different, Dan Lao's preparation has the same effect. Make a special realm-breaking pill and let her swallow it to break through to the nascent soul stage. Since nascent soul cannot enter the secret realm of the heavenly book, breaking through from inside is undoubtedly the best way to gain the upper hand. Moreover, Elder Dan allowed Lian Nishang to kill the Zhongjiangjao brothers and sisters inside, which shows that they are conceited on the surface and have been plotting against each other secretly. At this moment, Zhang Ao suddenly left like crazy, presumably to find Lian Nishang, and probably to seize her nascent soul. After clearing his thoughts, Zhu Yun took a deep breath, feeling quite helpless. I thought I was used to the cruelty of the immortal world in Yezhu, but I didn't expect that it would be even more so in a place like Peeper Realm, where spiritual energy is richer and resources are not in short supply. The most dangerous thing is the human heart. I don't know if this is the case in the spiritual world. Just when Zhu Yun was feeling emotional, Zhu Feng, who was far away from here, finally found the Muling Sacred Mountain. At this time, he is only one step away from the late stage of pill formation. In the entire mortal world, there is no one who can cultivate faster than him. Who would have thought that someone with only 20 bones would be able to form an elixir? So much so that when Zhu saw Zhu Fengzi, he was also surprised. Little guy, your talent is very good, but why did you become a demon? The ancestral tree is a spiritual tree from the same era as Yayang. Even if Zhu Feng restrained the demonic energy in his body, he could not avoid his induction. I've met Senior. Zhu Feng also came here unintentionally. He originally just wanted to look for Wuchidao, but he bumped into it by mistake. He felt that the Muling Sacred Mountain here seemed a little out of place with the surroundings, so he came to take a look. Who would have thought that Xiaoshu actually spoke directly, which shocked him immediately. However, his experience is not weaker than that of Zhu Yun, and he has been scheming with others along the way. It can be said that his character is not weaker than that of Zhu Yun. The difference between them is that Zhu Yun's intrigue is to survive, and Zhu Feng is just to plot against others. The boy was forced to have no choice, so he entered the devil's way. As soon as Zhu Feng opened his mouth, he acted miserably first. Zhu Shu has no doubts about deceit. Perhaps it can be said that at his level, he doesn't need to care about Zhu Feng's small pill formation period. Thinking that there was a demon sect master under him, he couldn't help but also said, any path is the way to cultivate immortality, and what matters is your original intention. If you are good at heart, the evil way is the right way. If your original intention is evil, the right way is also the evil way. So little one, you don't have to hold a grudge. Boy, get a lesson. Zhu Feng was very good at pretending. Seeing that Zhu Shu was enlightening him, although he felt disdainful, he knelt down and worshipped. The ancestor tree smiled and said, little guy, the Taoist heart is the Taoist heart, and the Tao lies in the original heart. Keep your Taoist heart well, and your future achievements will be limitless. If the old tree hadn't been unable to control himself, I would definitely have given you an opportunity. Zhu Feng felt happy, knowing that he had deceived this behemoth, and the word opportunity made his eyes shine. Influenced by Tang Zhuyang, Zhu Feng has always felt that opportunity is the most important thing in cultivation. Whether he obtained the magic power in the sea and embarked on the path to immortality, or he accidentally obtained the demon refining tower and reached the late stage of pill formation at this time, it all shows the importance of opportunity. However, although Zhu Feng felt regretful in his heart, he said seriously on the surface, Senior, I don't want to be rewarded for my merits, so I don't dare to get the opportunity of my seniors. When Zhu Shu saw this, he liked him even more. He looked young and spoke politely. He smiled and said, you want it, but I can't give it to you. Lashu, I suppressed a demon sect leader here. If it had been 500 years, if you can come here later, it won't hurt to give you a chance. Demon sect master. Zhu Feng was surprised and happy. He was originally looking for the demon sect's leader, but he didn't expect that the demon sect's leader would be trapped here. Suppressed. That means his strength is definitely gone. According to the information he got, the demon sect leader had reincarnated for the 9th time, which sounded very powerful, but his apparent realm was still at the Jindan stage. He had a treasure like the demon refining tower, so even if he was defeated, it would not be difficult to trap a Jindan stage cultivator in it. Therefore, even though he had given up on Lao Tzu, he still dared to come, because he was confident. He suddenly raised his head, with a look of surprise on his face. "Senior, there is actually a leader of the demon sect here? Did you suppress him?" "Of course," Xianxia said with a smile, "however, it is a bit difficult for me to do it alone, but I was helped at that time, so I succeeded. Now most of my spiritual power is used to suppress him, so I can't give you a chance." Without waiting for Zhu Feng to speak, Xianxia continued, "That's why I said those words to you, because I'm afraid you will follow the old path of the leader of the demon sect. The leader of the demon sect has been doing evil for 9 generations, for more than 1,000 years. When I was in my prime, I have heard that he turned some monks into puppets for his own use. The cycle of life and death, now he is half dead and is suppressed by me here." Zhu Feng looked respectful and said, "Senior, you are so righteous that you are willing to spend 500 years of your life to trap the leader of the demon sect to death. I admire you very much." "Ha ha ha," Xianxia laughed and said, "I don't want to stay here for 500 years, but who made the leader of the demon sect too powerful? He is at the level of half-infant, so I have no choice. Old tree, I will use 99% of my spiritual power to suppress him." He didn't know that his words were gradually being taken out by Zhu Feng. "Since you don't want to, forget it." Hearing that Xianxia's spiritual power was running out, Zhu Feng made up his mind and suddenly shouted, throwing the demon refining tower out from the middle of his sleeve. The demon refining tower can collect spirit beasts and monsters in the world. To be precise, any intelligent creatures except humans can be collected in it. To recruit people, the realm of the recruited person must not be higher than that of the tower master. Otherwise, even if he took great pains to recruit him, he would not be able to suppress him through the demon refining tower. At that time, Zhu Yun escaped from the tower, leaving Zhu Feng with no way to deal with him. The reason why Zhu Feng kept practicing and killing living beings was for this purpose. If I meet Zhu Yun again one day, I can take him in and make him unable to turn over forever. Xianxia didn't react at all to what Zhu Feng meant by this, and saw the huge black shadow in front of him growing stronger and stronger. In the blink of an eye, it had covered the sky and the sun, and pressed towards him. After a closer look, it was discovered that this was a strange giant tower. The black air was entangled in the tower, and the huge copper door at the bottom of the tower opened with a bang, immediately generating a huge suction force. Xianxia's spiritual power was enough to kill Zhu Feng, but at this time, he was completely unable to deal with the demon refining tower. When he came back to his senses again, Xianxia was already in a foreign land, a wasteland. "Old tree, you shouldn't." At this time, Das Han below spoke slowly. Xianxia was still in shock and said, "Is this the space in the tower? I feel a suppressive force from this tower. If I'm not mistaken, this should be the demon refining tower." Das Han smiled bitterly. This was simply an unexpected disaster. He felt something was wrong, but he was a man of few words. By the time he found out, it was too late. "What should we do?" Xianxia finished speaking, and Zhu Feng appeared in front of him with a playful smile. "Senior, how about I give you an opportunity? I started my cultivation by picking up the immortal skills." Author, Banzuan Xianxia. Chapter 574. "Little guy, I was wrong about the old tree. Why did you trap me in this tower?" Ancestral Tree said in a deep voice, while Muling Holy Mountain closed his mouth. Zhu Feng probably didn't notice his presence, maybe he had a chance to take action. But at this time, we should look at the situation before talking. The Ancestral Tree also knew this. "Oh, old man, if you have something to say, Please tell me. Zhu Feng chuckled and said, since you recognize that I am a person of the devil, then think about what I am for. Are you also a member of the puppet-controlling demon sect? The ancestral tree blurted out, but then shook the tree body again and again, saying, you and Wuchideo have different auras, and the magic skills you practice are also different. It is indeed the puppet-controlling demon sect. Zhu Feng secretly thought in his heart that he had already guessed a little bit when he heard Zusha say that he made living people into puppets. I didn't expect it to be true. He once obtained Tang Zhuyang's storage bag, which contained the method of refining the soul control pill. As soon as he rolled his eyes, he had a calculation in his heart. If he could be released by then, he could get closer to him and get out of the sect leader's words. But now, we still need to let Ancestral Tree let Wu Qi speak out. If he was outside, he would still have to act, but now, in the tower, shouldn't he just do whatever he wants? Zhu Feng's expression was frozen, and he was too lazy to talk nonsense to the Ancestral Tree, and said directly, release the demon sect leader you suppressed, and I will save some face for you. How about it? You really have an idea for him? Zusha's face darkened. He had heard of the name of the demon refining tower, but he didn't know how powerful this tower was. Obviously, Wuchideo is his talisman at the moment. Sensing an aura that suppressed his power in the tower, Zusha knew very well that if he handed over Wuchideo, he would probably be close to death. To be honest, Zhu Feng chuckled and said, I am indeed looking for the master of the demon sect, but I came to you by mistake. Since you are unwilling, I will give you some time to think about it. After saying that, he turned around and left neatly, then left the demon refining tower and put the demon refining tower back into his sleeve again. Humph, if I hadn't been able to figure out the details of this old tree, how could I have let you live? I will definitely get the 9 generations demonic skill. Who else will be my opponent in the entire Peeper realm then? He muttered a few words to himself, then raised his head and looked in front of him. After the wood spirit sacred mountain was taken away, this place no longer seemed so out of place. This place looks good, why don't you stay here to practice for a while, and let the old guy reflect inside first. There will be no good end if you go against me. If you really won't let him go, don't blame me for killing you. Swallowed too. Zhu Feng's eyes flashed with light, and then he found a cave nearby and hid in it. In the tower, after Zhu Feng left, Xianxia said, Old Shu, I'm afraid we can't get out, so let's give it a try. Zusha sighed and said, if Wuchideo is handed over, I'm afraid Peeper Realm will face another catastrophe. That boy is carrying a demon refining tower, and he is so good at pretending. It seems that his mind is not ordinary vicious, even you and me. If he can be deceived, you can imagine how many monks he has killed. Indeed, if he learns about the 9 generations demonic art from Wuchideo, I'm afraid this mortal world will become a hell. If Senior Ye knows about it, I don't know how to explain it. Old Shu, if Senior Ye has ascended, can he still have time to control you and me? In my opinion, we should think about our own situation. Das Han, I'll just talk about it casually. But my old tree, born and nurtured by the earth, must be worthy of the sky, the earth, and my heart. Furthermore, after agreeing to Zuyun, I have to treat Wuchideo no matter what. Suppress him until death. Fortunately, if that kid takes action forcefully, Wuchideo and you will both live and die together, and he won't be able to succeed. Then let's do it. It's just a pity for them. Xianxia sighed and said in a deep voice, sorry for involving you. Senior Holy Mountain, this is our life. Several figures walked out of the cave on the mountainside, their faces full of determination. Ancestral Tree sighed. Under his will, these all became mountain guards. He didn't expect that he would be taken in by the demon refining tower. If Zhu Feng were to take action, he and the holy mountain would be destroyed together, and the people guarding the mountain would not survive. Suddenly, Wood Spirit Sacred Mountain fell into an eerie silence. A group of female nuns also returned to the cave. At this time, Fire Dragon Sect. Xianxia rushed into Dan Pavilion. Zhu Yun's guess was correct, he just wanted to refine his clothes. He was so angry that he no longer cared about any sect rules. In other words, after he exercised the power of the sect leader in the sect master's palace and commanded a group of nascent souls, he subconsciously regarded himself as the sect master. After running rampant in the Dan Pavilion, he couldn't find Lian Nishang, so he calmed down a little. Lian Nishang was not in the Dan Pavilion before, but in that valley. Why not? I go to the valley to have a look, and I can't tell why she is hiding there. It just so happens that I can also take away the UN of those who are usually unattended in the valley. Yin, then he broke through the nascent soul stage in one fell swoop. All the heavenly books are illusory. If you get them, it will be an advantage for my father. It's not my turn to take the blame. It's better to leave the sect and find opportunities on your own and be a prisoner. The sect master. Running all the way, Xianxia had already made a decision in his heart. In the valley, Dozhuan Xinyi has long been destroyed and cannot stop anyone at all. The ground was devastated by Zhu Yun's numerous self-destruct arrays, and there were countless large and small pits with magma and fire. The fire was overflowing, and the spiritual power was extremely rich. Little did they know that this deep pit was also connected to the ground veins where the fire dragon lived, and the magma was naturally extraordinary. Humph, this place is not bad, maybe Lian Nishang is really hiding here. Xianxia looked around, but after the valley was destroyed by the self-destruct array, it was no longer possible to hide people. Just when he was at a loss, he suddenly found a series of footprints not far away, leading to the direction of the eye of the mountain protection array. Xianxia's eyes lit up, and he hurried forward and stepped on the edge of the footprints. This comparison found that the footprints were a circle smaller than his own, obviously a woman's footprint. Humph, you are hiding here. Lian Nishang, I will definitely deal with you today. Xianxia rolled his eyes and covered his face, leaving only his eyes exposed. Then he swallowed a breath-retaining pill and quietly walked along the footprints. The road from the valley to the center of the main formation is not short. Especially after slowing down, Xianxia spent half an hour and walked along the mountain wall all the time. Only then did he see the iron chain bridge from afar. At this time, he suddenly realized that it was okay before the iron chain bridge, but if he was closer, he would need the formation order, otherwise the fire dragon. Wait, didn't the fire dragon disappear? I heard from those Yuanying stage that the reason why he was asked to make a decision temporarily was because the fire dragon was gone. At that time, the Supreme Elder Qi Fuxian also dealt with it for a period of time. But later, the Supreme Elder also disappeared. The elders guessed that they must have discovered something, so they left together. In this case, the fire dragon is not in the sect, and the Supreme Elder is not in the sect either. No wonder that guy dared to show up, snatched my sister's entrance beads and then ran away. It turns out that he knew the situation in the sect. When he thought of this, Xianxia's blood rushed to his head again, making him unable to think calmly. However, he knew that if he was discovered by Lian Nishang, he would have to fight hard. It might be a bit inappropriate to attract others at that time. After taking a few deep breaths and calming his mind, Xianxia began to observe. I saw that there were many magic tools scattered on the iron chain bridge. No, not magic tools. It's a spiritual tool. Suddenly, Xianxia's eyes were straight. This can only be used in the nascent soul stage. And he only thought about taking away Lian Nishang's Yuanyan and forming a pill into a baby, but he never thought about what magic tool he would use after the nascent soul stage. There were so many spiritual weapons in front of him for no reason, which made him a little confused. However, he didn't know that under the bridge piles on this side of the iron chain bridge, there was a person hiding, staring at this place through the gap between the bridge bodies. Strange, how did Zhong Jiangjao get here? Could it be that Lian Nishang asked him to come? Zhong Yingxia thought about it again and again in her heart, and felt that it was very likely. Without her, Zhong Jiangjao would be a useless waste. It is very likely that he would be bewitched by Lian Nishang and told that there was a bead on her body, so that he could rob it. What should I do? Zhong Yingxia was anxious. It's not that she was afraid of Zhong Jiangjao. But first, Zhong Jiangjao was useful to him. Second, she had seen all kinds of spiritual weapons on the bridge a long time ago, but she was cautious by nature, and she saw that this was clearly a trap. I started my cultivation by picking up the immortal skills. Author, Banzuan Xianxia. Chapter 575. Don't go there, don't go there. Zhong Yingxia roared in his heart. He knew some things about the fire dragon sect better than Zhong Jiangjao, so after fighting with Zhu Yun, he did not choose to leave the fire dragon sect, but planned to hide in the mountain protection formation. Huo Jiao and Qi Fuxian suddenly stopped asking about matters within the sect, which made her make some guesses. However, when she saw the spiritual weapons on the iron cable bridge, she did not dare to move and chose to hide here. Obviously, this is a trap set by Qi Fuxian. Apart from him, no one in the entire Fire Dragon sect could have such huge financial resources to throw all the spiritual energy on the bridge at will. And looking at it like this, it is very likely that Qi Fuxian is going to take action against the Fire Dragon. But Zhong Yingxia knows it, but Zhong Jiangjao doesn't. But just as Zhong Jiangjao was about to rush onto the cable bridge, a terrifying pressure suddenly came. It's Qi Fuxian. I've met the Supreme Elder. Zhong Jiangjao suddenly woke up, stopped quickly, and then fell to the ground. Cold sweat was already flowing down his back. The main formation eye of the mountain protecting formation cannot be broken into without an order from the formation. Qi Fuxian's face was cold and he shouted in a low voice, "Get out!" "Yes, yes." Zhong Jiangjao stood up quickly, but heard Qi Fuxian say angrily, "Get out of here too." Also, is Lian Nishang hiding here too? He was overjoyed. Since Qi Fuxian had driven people away, he should go out quickly and get ready. When the time came, he would come back with his sword, capture Lian Nishang in one fell swoop, and seize his nascent soul. Thinking of this, Zhong Jiangjao couldn't help but speed up his pace. Qi Fuxian's pressure has not dissipated, so Zhong Jiangjao did not dare to use his spiritual sense. He had no idea that the person following him was his twin sister Zhong Yingxia. After Qi Fuxian watched the two people leave, he didn't take it to heart. Instead, he stared at the bubbling magma below and muttered to himself, "That kid took away my fire dragon staff and the body of the fire dragon, and he was able to hide all the time. Down there. Can he be so patient? Or, has he been burned to ashes?" Zhong Jiangjao ran all the way back to the valley, quickly hid behind a stone wall, and then took out his folding fan magic weapon. As everyone knows, Zhong Yingxia keeps thinking about why Zhong Jiangjao is here. Both of them have their own agendas and have no idea what the other is thinking. And he had to worry about whether Lian Nishang would be the first to complain and let Zhong Jiangjao know that he had done something to Lian Nishang. Under this, her steps couldn't help but slow down, and she couldn't help but feel extremely entangled in her heart. Should he take advantage of this moment to escape from the Fire Dragon sect, or should he find a way to deceive Zhong Jiangjao and use him again? After all, when Zhong Jiangjao didn't win the Yuanyin to refine Nishang, it was of no use to her. After much thought, Zhong Yingxia felt that it was necessary to take a risk. After making the decision, she quickened her pace, but as soon as she rushed into the valley, Zhong Jiangjao rushed out from behind the boulder, holding a flame in one hand and fanning the folding fan with the other. The flames rose up at an extremely fast speed, gushing towards her face. Xianxia was shocked. She knew Zhong Jiangjiao's strength very well. But what I didn't expect was, why was he so decisive? Immediately, Xianxia did not hesitate and quickly stretched out his hands to greet him. A fire phoenix suddenly took shape and rushed into Zhong Jiangjiao's sea of fire. Two huge beams of fire power collided together, and there was only a loud bang. The valley shook again. On the top of the four sides, some rocks that had not rolled down during the last vibration finally failed to hold up and fell down one after another. Lian Nishang, do you think this is all I have? The sea of fire blocked Zhong Jiangjiao's vision, making him think that his opponent was still Lian Nishang. He couldn't help but feel full of fighting spirit and danced the folding fan again. And Xianxia decided that it must be those nascent soul elders who told him that he had violated the sect rules, and then started to stir up discord, trying to make the brothers and sisters kill each other. As a result, Xianxia, who was only dissatisfied with Zhong Jingguo, hated the entire Fire Dragon sect. However, Xianxia still maintains some sense more or less. I know that the hope that I can break through the nascent soul stage in the short term lies with Zhong Jiangjiao. Moreover, she also kept a gateway bead on her body. He even thought that the rest of the entry beads were still left in the cave. Due to various coincidences, Xianxia relied on her familiarity with Zhong Jiangjiao and quickly left. By the time Zhong Jiangjiao reacted, the person was gone. Escaped? Where did you escape? Zhong Jiangjiao was stunned and cursed in his heart, this Lian Nishang has such a strong ability to escape. It seems that he has learned a lot from Tang Liwen. It's no wonder that the more than 10 nascent soul stages of our great fire dragon sect have been defeated by a blind fool. Escaped. Zhong Jiangjiao looked very ugly and flew all the way back to the sect master's hall, intending to find the rest of the Yuanying stage for help. But there was no one in the main hall. Suddenly he was furious and roared in the hall, with nowhere to vent. As for Xianxia, after escaping from the fire dragon sect, she immediately noticed something strange. Not only did she not encounter the nascent soul stage in her sect, but she also encountered no one blocking her along the way. It's strange. I always feel that something is wrong, but I can't explain why I came here. Forget it, let's go to Pipa State first. In about 3 months, the secret realm of the Book of Heaven will be opened there. Xianxia put the treasure in the secret realm of the Book of Heaven. Instead of rushing in the end, it would be better to go there early and wait for the work in leisure, which can save a lot of energy. Moreover, she still needs to make some preparations, and dressing up in disguise is essential. Xianxia left at this point, and Zuyun stayed in the Fire Dragon sect, so there was no chance of being discovered as a disguise. This was something Zuyun had not expected. Of course, he didn't even know what happened within the Fire Dragon sect. But even if he knew it, he didn't dare to stay here any longer, because not only did he have to find a way to release Lian Nishang from the alms bowl, but he also wanted to prepare for the secret realm of the Book of Heaven. We have used up all the talismans of changing the world and changing the world, and there are not many breath-containing talismans. Not to mention using these in the secret realm of the heavenly book, you should also prepare more of them in case of emergencies. But it is not safe in the cave. There are still too many nascent soul stage in the Fire Dragon sect. Furthermore, he also wanted to visit Muling Holy Mountain to relieve the uneasiness in his heart. Without hesitation, Zuyun decided to leave. When he transformed into Xianxia, he had no worries about being stopped. Zhong Jingguo is not in the sect, and those nascent soul stages were deceived by him again. Even if Xianxia is no longer welcome, after all, his identity is here, ordinary disciples dare to stop him? He absolutely did not believe this. Zuyun acts straightforwardly and never procrastinates. After making the decision in his heart, he immediately prepared to leave. Now that he's gone, he has no intention of coming back. He had the experience left by Yan Laoxi on the fire dragon sect's method of refining alchemy and making weapons. I also learned the Tao of Formation and Talisman from Tang Liwen and gained a lot. In addition, with the entrance beads, there is no need for the fire dragon sect to keep any more. Therefore, he planned to say goodbye to Huo Maoang. All the way to the Dan Pavilion, the ordinary disciples saw that the sect leader's daughter was visiting, so they all responded with respect. When they heard that Zuyun was looking for Huo Maoang, they all looked strange. A disciple who was in the early stage of elixir formation came forward and said, "Miss Zhong, senior brother Maoang was recommended by his master to go to Yunzhou. He's out." Zuyun didn't pay attention at first, but felt a little regretful in his heart, but suddenly, he realized that something was wrong. Where to go? Yunzhou. The disciple saw Zuyun's surprised expression and thought he didn't believe it, so he quickly said seriously, "Miss, the younger one doesn't dare to lie." Originally, the younger one was also among the recommended people, but later the master chose senior brother Maoang. It is more appropriate to say that he used to work in the Foreign Affairs Department and has richer experience than me. He is now in Yunzhou, which is tens of thousands of miles away. Zuyun was extremely shocked and asked, "Why are you going to Yunzhou so well?" "I don't know about this young one," the disciple shook his head, with a hint of regret, and said, "The young one was not selected, so I don't know the content of this sect's mission. However, there are a total of 10 Danja stage members in the group, and they are all senior brother Maoang. Lead the way." "Okay, I understand. Thank you." Zuyun left a word and left in a hurry. He couldn't figure out the purpose of the Fire Dragon sect, but he vaguely felt that it must have something to do with the recent excessive casualties in the Fire Dragon sect. No matter how fast they are, they will definitely not be able to match Ant Tang. Even if they are in the 10 Dan formation stage, they will not be Ant Tang's opponent. Even if they go to Lingjian sect, nothing will happen to them. In this case, then we will go back after the secret realm of the heavenly book. I hope they will not go to Lingjian sect to die. After thinking about it, Zuyun relaxed a little and quietly left the Fire Dragon sect and ran towards the direction where the ancestral tree suppressed Wuchideo. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. I started my cultivation by picking up the immortal skills. Author, Banzuan Xianxia. Chapter 576. Going all the way west. Although Zuyun knew that his identity at this time was not too sensitive, he was still in confinement and it was somewhat inappropriate to go out privately. But after walking for a while, he found that his worries were somewhat unnecessary. Because those in the nascent soul stage were all looking for Takahashi who had snatched the bead from his mouth. In this way, Xianxia has no effect on them at all. They even thought that Xianxia was also helping to find someone. After running 1,000 miles away without any danger, Zuyun breathed a sigh of relief, took off the heaven-changing talisman on his forehead, and returned to his original appearance and body shape. Next, he no longer had any worries. In the wilderness and inaccessible, he used his speed to the extreme. But when he arrived at the location in his memory, he couldn't help but froze. Empty. Where's the mountain? Zuyun was stunned, his face full of disbelief. He knew that the wood spirit sacred mountain could be moved. But one mountain and one tree had clearly promised him that he would suppress Wuchideo here until his soul died and he would disappear. How come it had only been so long before he was completely gone? I must have encountered something. Zuyun's heart sank, and he combined the messages received in the Fire Dragon sect and analyzed them one by one. Wuchideo is the leader of the demon sect as they call it, there is no doubt about it. But after I suppressed this place, I heard from Huojiao that people from the Fire Dragon sect went out to search, but people disappeared one after another. So, there should be a third party. And since no one has been found, a group of nascent souls asked Zhong Jiangjao to go out and make a decision. The purpose has nothing to do with me, but it is a fact that the fire dragon sex people are missing. Otherwise, they wouldn't send anyone to Yunzhou. After learning that Huo Maoang went to Yunzhou, Zhu Yun guessed the purpose of the fire dragon sect. The population of Peeper Realm is sparse, and when they go to Yezhu, they may be afraid of being discovered by other sects, so they take a detour to Shiwanda Mountain and send out the Danja stage. To sum up the news, there is no doubt that the news about the wood spirit sacred mountain and the ancestral tree must be related to the third party. But in the Peeper Realm, who has such magical power to take away the entire wood spirit sacred mountain without leaving a trace? Zhu Yun was deep in thought, and a flash of light quickly flashed in his mind. The people from the fire dragon sect also disappeared without a trace, and so did the wood spirit holy mountain. Then could it be Zhu Feng's demon refining tower? Thinking of this, Zhu Yun's eyes suddenly lit up. I chased Zhu Feng all the way from Yezhu through the mountain road, but still let him run away. Among the people he knew, only Zhu Feng had such means. With the strength of the ancestral tree, Yao Wuxi, who is at the peak of the late nascent soul stage, can only fight for thousands of rounds before he can win with a slight advantage, let alone other nascent soul stages. But here, there are no traces of any fighting. Apart from the demon refining tower, he couldn't think of any other reason. In that case, let the three dogs come out and smell it. Zhu Yun's eyes flashed with a fierce light, and he felt even more uneasy. If Zhu Feng were allowed to suppress the ancestral tree and the holy mountain through the demon refining tower, and then release Wu Chidao, forcing him to hand over the 9th generation demonic art. Based on his understanding of Zhu Feng, this younger brother's character is definitely capable of killing tens of thousands of people just to improve his own realm. As soon as his mind moved, Sangu suddenly appeared in front of him. "Hey, Master, what do you want from me?" After taking the transformation pill, Sangu was able to transform into a human form and practice. "Smell it, does it smell like the demon refining tower here?" Looking at Sangu with a playful smile, Zhu Yun had no time to talk nonsense with him. Demon refining tower. Sangu's expression changed, and he suddenly became solemn. He sniffed the air carefully and turned his gaze to the distance. "Over there." Zhu Yun's eyes were as bright as a torch, and he immediately used the void-breaking spiritual eye technique. "It's there, but the breath is very light," Sangu said seriously. "You go back first, I'll go over and take a look." Zhu Yun waved his hand, and the three dogs disappeared instantly. Then Zhu Yun rolled his eyes, took out the last talisman of changing the world and put it on his forehead. Then, he turned into Sun Suanhua's appearance, and his aura weakened, becoming the foundation building stage. After he was ready, he pretended to walk that way. The purpose is clear. Under the Shaoxing Lingjingju, he discovered the formation patterns of the 9 turns and 9 suns formation. In the Peeper realm, besides Zhu Yunhui, who else could it be if he wasn't Zhu Feng? This also reminded Zhu Yun of lowering Zhu Feng's vigilance by incarnating as Sun Suanhua. "After I kill Zhu Feng, I will prepare some talismans. This talisman of changing the world will have a great effect." Zhu Yun muttered something in his heart and quickly walked to the cave where Zhu Feng was hiding. He imitated Sun Suanhua's customary movements and turned out to be very similar. First he touched his beard, and then said softly, "Hey, how come there is my original 9-turn 9-yang formation here? Could it be that one of my disciples is practicing here?" He said it loudly on purpose, just to attract Zhu Feng's attention. Sure enough, Zhu Feng, who was resting in the cave, was awakened by the sound. Seeing that it was Sun Suanhua, he couldn't help but feel like he had seen a ghost. He said goodbye to Sun Suanhua without saying goodbye. He must not have known how well he knew him. "Master, why are you here?" Seeing that Sun Suanhua was still in the foundation building stage, Zhu Feng couldn't help but relax his vigilance. However, he did not think about letting Sun Suanhua go. Even compared to him, his hatred for Sun Suanhua is second only to Zhu Yun. If he hadn't taught Zhu Yun skills, how could it be so difficult for me, Zhu Feng, to embark on the path of immortality? Ha ha ha, Zhu Feng, I didn't expect it to be you. Your 9 transformations and 9 suns formation is still a little bit lacking. Zhu Yun didn't answer directly, but said with a smile while stroking his beard. Master, Zhu Feng's eyes flashed with a gleam of light, and he said, it's not that after reaching the Peeper realm, I was busy practicing, so I neglected my study of the formation. Practicing is a good thing, and your talent for practicing is much better than that kid Zhu Yun. Zhu Yun deliberately belittled himself in order to dispel Zhu Feng's vigilance against him, but he didn't expect that as soon as he finished speaking, he heard Zhu Feng's strange laughter. That's right, Zhu Yun is a nobody, and dares to be compared with me, Zhu Feng? My good master, why don't you show me my current skills, how about it? After that, Zhu Feng immediately threw out the demon refining tower from his sleeve. Zhu Yun's face changed, and before he could react, the strong suction had already sucked him into the demon refining tower. His current realm is actually lower than Zhu Feng, and he can't escape the suction of the demon refining tower at all. He only felt a flash in front of his eyes, and he appeared on the first floor of the demon refining tower. Ha ha ha, my good master, what do you think of this place? As soon as he stood still, Zhu Feng also appeared in front of Zhu Yun. Zhu Feng boy, what do you mean? What is this place? Zhu Yun seemed to be looking at Zhu Feng, but in fact, he kept looking around with the corner of his eyes to determine the direction. He was not very familiar with the demon refining tower, but he knew that if he wanted to escape, he could only leave from the light gate. You can just treat this place as my outer space. Good master, since you think my array skills are not strong, why don't you stay here, and when your disciple has questions, he will come to ask you for advice, how about it? After speaking, Zhu Feng flashed away from the demon refining tower and returned to the cave. He, Sun Suanhua, I won't kill you for now. It won't be too late to kill you after I learn all your skills. Is he gone? Zhu Yun couldn't sense Zhu Feng's presence, and was still a little cautious. But when he thought that Zhu Feng didn't recognize him, he was relieved. And he guessed from his words that he had trapped himself here. Humph, do you think I'm Sun Suanhua? Humph, I might as well take this opportunity to explore the demon refining tower. Maybe I can find the ancestral tree and the wood spirit holy mountain. Zhu Yun didn't expect that he would accidentally enter the demon refining tower. Anyway, he had to find the light gate when he went out, so he might as well search it carefully. With the thought in his mind, he summoned Sango again. Master, this is... Feeling a kind of suppression force on his body, Sango was also shocked. At this time, his realm was only the chi refining stage, and his fear of the demon refining tower was completely instinctive from the bones. Not to mention, he had also been to the demon refining tower. Inside the demon refining tower, can you smell the spiritual energy? Sango closed his eyes and sniffed the air carefully. After a moment, he opened his eyes and looked to the north. Master, there is a strong wood spiritual energy over there. Besides, there are people. There are people. Zhu Yun's pupils shrank, and he thought to himself, could Zhu Feng leave anyone alive? Thinking of this, he put away Sangu and ran towards the north. I started my cultivation by picking up the immortal skills. Author, Banzuan Xianxia. Chapter 577. Sure enough, the 3 dogs' sense of smell is trustworthy. After running wildly for a while, Zhu Yun saw a mountain appearing in the endless wasteland. The familiar mountain shape and the towering trees on the top of the mountain, who else could it be except the holy mountain of wood spirit and the ancestral tree? He was ecstatic and forgot that he was Sun Suanhua at this time, and ran directly to the ancestral tree. Ancestral tree, great, I didn't expect you to be here. However, the ancestral tree did not respond at all. Zuyun frowned slightly, and he could clearly feel that the ancestral tree was no different from usual. At most, it was suppressed by the tower, and its breath was a little weaker. But why, the ancestral tree was like a dead tree. Could it be Zhu Feng? Just thinking about Zhu Feng, a figure suddenly flashed, and Zhu Feng appeared in front of the ancestral tree out of thin air. Seeing Zhu Yun, he couldn't help but said in a cold voice, "My good master, what are you doing here?" Zhu Yun suddenly realized that he had used the heaven-changing talisman to transform into Sun Suanhua's appearance, and the ancestral tree couldn't recognize him for a while. He and Muling Shengshan used 99% of their spiritual power to suppress Wuchidao, so it was naturally impossible to separate some spiritual power to identify Zhu Yun. "Just take a look, I didn't expect that there would be such a big tree in your outer space, it looks quite old." Zhu Yun laughed. Zhu Feng raised his eyebrows and ignored Zhu Yun, but thought in his heart that it seemed that he had to show his strength and let him take a good look, so that he would not dare to hide it. "Old senior, I wonder if you have thought it through? If you hand over the leader of the demon sect, I will let you go, how about it?" Hearing this, Zhu Yun was shocked and his face changed. But Zhu Feng thought that this cheap master was scared by him, and he couldn't help feeling proud in his heart. "Humph, this is a spiritual tree in the transformation period. Don't even think about it. The leader of the demon sect is a disaster to the world. If he is born, the world will be devastated. Don't think that I don't know your thoughts, don't you just want the 9-life demonic art? Boy, you lied to me once before, do you think I will be fooled by you?" Zhu Feng's face sank, and he said, "Old man, don't be shameless. You think I can't do anything to you in this demon refining tower?" "Ha ha ha," the ancestor tree laughed and said, "If there is a way, why would you play such a drama with me? If you have any tricks, just use them. At worst, I and the leader of the demon sect will die at your hands, which is also what I want." Zhu Feng was furious. Since he got the demon refining tower, except for facing Zhu Yun, he has never been threatened by others. But this ancestor tree, which is clearly unable to move, and can't even transform into a human, dares to mock like this. How can he bear it? Immediately, a thread came out of the demon refining tower and directly enveloped the ancestor tree. Unexpectedly, a crack suddenly appeared under Zhu Feng's feet. It was the mountain that made the move. "Old friend, it's up to you." The crack was like a monster's mouth, and it closed when Zhu Feng fell. At the same time, the ancestor tree also drew out its spiritual power, gave up the resistance to the suppression of the demon refining tower, and turned to suppress Zhu Feng, trying to suppress Zhu Feng as well. But Zhu Feng had gone through thousands of hardships and dangers, fought against the strong with the weak countless times, and fought life and death, and his reaction was extremely fast. In addition, he was connected to the demon refining tower in his mind, and immediately he flashed and got out of the demon refining tower directly. Not good. The ancestor tree and the sacred mountain of the wood spirit said in unison. They didn't expect Zhu Feng to be able to master the demon refining tower so deeply, and leave as soon as he said. Feeling that there was no one around, the two spiritual creatures sighed. "It's over." The ancestor tree was frowning, and then he turned to look at Zhu Yun, who had transformed into Sun Suanhua, and said, "Are you the master of that kid? It seems that you are also a victim. If you want to live, hurry to the mountain." The ground seams of the Muling Holy Mountain were restored to their original state, and a cave was opened on the mountainside. He said, "Hide in quickly, you are just a small foundation building period. When that kid comes, I guess you will be sucked dry by him." Zhu Yun was speechless. When he was about to tell the truth, he never thought that Zhu Feng had already taken a breath outside and entered the demon refining tower again. I didn't expect that the mountain under your roots is also a spiritual object. What a deep plan. This time, Zhu Feng did not stand on the mountain, but floated in the air, looking down at the ancestor tree with a gloomy face. If he hadn't reacted quickly, he would probably end up like Wu Chideo. It is said that the human race is cunning. It seems that all living creatures are like this. The higher the intelligence, the more tricks they will play. And this time, I was careless. I didn't expect that this mountain was also a spiritual creature, and its strength was not weak. Just a breath away, I was suppressed. Humph, you have done many evil things, and everyone can punish you. Boy, you are deeply possessed by the devil, and now you want the 9th generation of magic skills, so you can forget about it. Wu Chideo, me and the mountain are already connected as one. As long as you dare to kill us, Wu Chideo will naturally die together. The holy mountain also said at this time, he, are you unhappy? If you are unhappy, come and hit me. The always calm holy mountain actually said such provocative and sarcastic words, which made Zhu Yun feel something was wrong. There must be something wrong when things are abnormal. He knows what kind of character the holy mountain is. It is more appropriate to describe it as unmovable like a mountain. He rarely speaks, and when he does, he is calm and emotionless, but at this moment, not good. He wants to die together, borrow Zhu Feng's power, and then suppress Wu Chideo to death in one fell swoop. Zhu Yun was shocked when he thought of this. Without any time to think about it, he took out the Chaos Sword, stepped forward, and the sword flew up. Zhu Feng glanced lightly and said disdainfully, "Why, my good master, do you want to help me take action? However, for a waste like you in the foundation building stage, if you don't want to die, you'd better get away." After saying that, he immediately recited the mantra silently, and the golden elixir in his lower abdomen actually emitted black light, and the demonic spiritual power began to flow crazily. His magic skills are already perfect, and Zhu Feng believes in his control. With the power of the demon refining tower, he can completely suck out the ancestral tree and save his life. In the same way, the same goes for dealing with the holy mountain below. In this way, Wu Chideo among them might resist and come out. But Zhu Feng had no idea that Zhu Yun was approaching him just to kill him in one fell swoop. His sword control was just to deceive Zhu Feng. Suck the magic power for me. Zhu Feng seemed to be well prepared, and with a roar, boundless black energy spewed out from his mouth. This black energy instantly formed a black palm and pinched towards the main trunk of the ancestral tree, seemingly trying to grasp the entire ancestral tree. At the same time, Zhu Yun also took action. "Zhu Feng, suffer death." The Chaos Sword flew into Zhu Yun's hand, and the Wuji sword technique stabbed through the air. Countless chaos forces poured into the sword body, turning into streaks of thunder and shooting toward Zhu Feng. The characteristic of thunder spirit power is to destroy all unclean things in the world. Especially the thunder spirit power transformed from the chaos power is even more pure, even more so. "Zhu Yun, I didn't expect you to dare to come to the demon refining tower." Feeling the terrifying power coming from behind, Zhu Feng felt a chill coming from the bottom of his heart. If Zhu Yun exposed her back to him, she would be seeking death. He simply didn't care about absorbing the ancestral tree anymore. While turning around in a hurry, he controlled his big black hand and swatted towards Zhu Yun. "Zhu Feng, I haven't seen you for several months, and you have reached the late stage of pill formation. It seems that you have killed a lot of people." Zhu Yun said angrily, but the scene of looking at the small courtyard at home in the sky of barren rock mountain appeared in his mind. Not to mention that he had watched Zhu Feng grow up, but it was almost the same. Look at it from a few days, a few months, to a few years. When Zhu Yun finally broke through the foundation building stage, including the time in the Diwu glazed mirror, it took him almost 30 years and more. But Zhu Feng, how many years has it been since Lingjian sect? If he is allowed to continue, I am afraid that the entire lower world. Even more terrifying than Wuchideo's 9-turn success. Ha ha ha, Zuyun, you scared me. I didn't expect you to be in the middle stage of pill formation. Then just die. Zhu Feng did not avoid the incoming purple thunder at all, but connected his mind with the demon refining tower, directly splitting this space. These thunderbolts suddenly lost their target and immediately jumped around. Zhu Feng, you won't forget that you can't control me at all, right? As he spoke, Zhu Yun's figure flashed, and when he reappeared, he was already not far from Zhu Feng. Thunder escape technique. So what if we can get out of trouble? Zhu Feng sneered and split the space again. Compared with Zhu Yun's escape technique, which was almost equivalent to teleportation, Zhu Feng only needed a slight movement of his mind to split the space, making Zhu Yun unable to attack him at all. He can still find an opportunity. As long as Zhu Yun is distracted for a moment, he can immediately put aside the pressure of the demon refining tower. He was slowly taking control of the situation, slowly confusing Zhu Yun, dispelling his suspicions, and then he could hit him with one strike, making it impossible for Zhu Yun to stand up again. Zhu Yun couldn't do anything to him at this time, but he didn't know that if Zhu Yun wanted to run away, there would be nothing he could do to him. Seeing Zhu Yun gradually becoming a little overconfident, Zhu Feng sneered even more in his heart. Little did he know that Zhu Yun was also brewing a killer move in his heart, just waiting for Zhu Feng to relax. I started my cultivation by picking up the immortal skills. Author, Banzuan Xianxia. Chapter 578. The two brothers calculated each other. Zhu Feng split the space, and Zhu Yun kept using the thunder escape technique to find the best opportunity. If Zhu Yun could not control the position of the thunder escape technique precisely, he would not be so patient. As time passed, Zhu Yun finally got close to the position he wanted with a flash. It was only more than 2 feet away from Zhu Feng. His eyes suddenly shone with brilliance, and he stabbed the chaos sword in his hand without hesitation. Wuji sword technique. Zhu Feng sneered. In the demon refining tower, he had the best time, place, and people. Even if Zhu Yun's sword was weird and quick, it was not enough to hurt him. Zhu Yun, you are too naive. Do you think I am still the me in Yeazhu? The cold light in Zhu Feng's eyes met Zhu Yun's brilliance. With a hint of sarcasm, Zhu Yun's sword missed again. At the same time, because of Zhu Yun's move, his figure stopped, and Zhu Feng also seized the opportunity. Suppress him. Outside the independent space, when Zhu Yun's sword power dissipated, Zhu Feng controlled the pressure in the tower and was about to come, covering Zhu Yun's head. He, you are covered by me this time. I wonder if you can still run away. A victorious smile climbed onto Zhu Feng's face, with a strange arc at the corner of his mouth, and the smile twisted his face. Zhu Feng was sure of victory, but he never thought that what Zhu Yun was waiting for was Zhu Yun's stop to split the space. After knowing that Zhu Feng could avoid his Wuji sword art in this way, Zhu Yun didn't expect to kill Zhu Feng with the sword. Using Wuji sword art was just his strategy to lure the enemy. Sango, it's up to you. Zhu Yun's eyes bulged, and he shouted angrily, and dozens of black shadows appeared in front of Zhu Feng out of thin air. It was the more than 50 Jindan stage puppets that Zhu Yun had taken after killing Zheng Wengziu. Kill him for me. Sango is only in the Qi refining stage, but he is very majestic. He is seen holding a black wooden stick and pointing it in the direction of Zhu Feng. Boom! 50 Jindan stage puppets rushed towards Zhu Feng fearlessly. Looking like a group of rabble, they were scattered and killed, fighting each other without any rules. But after all, Zhu Feng is only in the Jindan stage. What is this? Zhu Yun, you actually have a magic weapon that can hide so many people. Zhu Feng's pupils shrank and he was shocked. He was once taken away by Tang Zhuyang and personally experienced that this kind of space can only accommodate one person at most. And while Zhu Yun was speaking, he let so many Jindan stages surround him. I have many means. The pressure on his body suddenly disappeared, and Zuyun watched coldly, without any courtesy. He already knew that Zhu Feng's control over the demon refining tower was probably not that deep. Suppress it? Sure enough, Zhu Feng transferred the pressure in the tower to those puppets, but unexpectedly, these puppets had no souls and no self-awareness, and were not affected by the pressure at all. When seeing dozens of magic weapons about to hit him, Zhu Feng finally panicked. It was too late to cut this room to avoid it. Because he couldn't separate the puppets in front of him finally. Damn it, Zuyun! Zhu Feng roared in fear, took out a soul-summoning banner from the storage bag, and smashed it on the head of the puppet closest to him. Woo woo woo! The wind blew, and countless ghosts flew out of the banner. In the blink of an eye, countless ghosts entangled and built a soul wall, which was airtight. Ghost King Banner. Zuyun suddenly realized why Zhu Feng could escape from the sea at that time. It turned out that he got Mo11's storage bag and his magic weapon. If he hadn't had the burning sky flame, he would have been the one who died on the Fire Spirit Pearl Island. Zhu Feng, I didn't expect that. I thought you would die, but you still got a chance. Zuyun used the escape technique to leave the torn space and chased after Zhu Feng. Zhu Feng, can't compare to you, Zuyun, in terms of opportunity. On the immortal path, opportunity is the most important. Opportunity. Zuyun showed disdain and said, it's just a crooked way. Since ancient times, evil cannot defeat good, and demons cannot defeat good. Zhu Feng danced wildly with the Ghost King banner while retreating frantically, shouting, Zuyun, don't be so hypocritical, as if you have never killed anyone. People who cultivate immortals fight against the sky, the earth, and people. Why fight? It's to fight for opportunity. Killing people for treasures, the law of the jungle. I, Zhu Feng, have seen through it a long time ago. I am a demon, so what? Just, if I can prove the magic way, I can also ascend to become an immortal. Hopeless. Zuyun cursed, fighting with the sky, that's because cultivation is against the will of heaven, fighting with the sky for immortality. Fighting with the earth is to seize the treasures of heaven and earth, and temper the body and hair. Fighting with people is to temper the heart of Tao, so as to achieve the end. Don't talk so righteously, Zuyun, Zhu Feng has seen through you a long time ago. You are more pretentious than a hypocrite, and you are more sinister than a real villain. Zhu Feng's words made Zuyun furious. He didn't know whether this was what Zhu Feng said in his heart or he was trying to provoke himself. But no matter which one it was, Zuyun had sworn a long time ago. Zhu Feng, who had penetrated the magic way, was doomed to die. Once again, Zuyun's thunder escape technique flashed to a subtle distance. He did not hesitate, stretched out his hand and took out a handful of spirit stones, and sprinkled them directly over. 9 transformations and 9 suns formation. As soon as the words fell, the formation suddenly took shape, and the formation pattern flashed, directly trapping Zhu Feng in it. This is equivalent to completely isolating Zhu Feng from the demon refining tower. Zuyun, do you also want to trap me in this broken formation? Zhu Feng followed Sun Suanhua and studied the 9 turns and 9 yang formation seriously for a period of time. In terms of formation, his level is indeed not good enough. Even Zuyun only became so skilled after countless hard trainings. The formation can be broken. He had already understood the 80 general changes of this formation, knew the door of life and the door of death. Zuyun wanted to use the formation to trap him to death. It was a wishful thinking. The 9-round sun in the formation cannot lock Zhu Feng at all. His footsteps were illusory, and every step he took was on the formation's eye. The sun could not attack Zhu Feng at all. Ha ha ha, I didn't expect that, Zuyun. This old ghost Sun Suanhua has already taught me his original formation. Zuyun's face changed slightly. If this was the case, he really had no choice but to get Zhu Feng. If he entered the formation, he would not be able to catch up with Zhu Feng. At the same time, it was difficult to suppress him without being able to separate the space. If he were to escape from the formation again, he would be back to the starting point. It would not be so easy to kill him again. So now, the first thing is to use the formation changes to control it as much as possible, and Zhu Yun's eyes widened, and Zhu Feng's movements in the formation were all in his eyes. While he was controlling the formation, changing the gates of life and death in the formation, he began to continuously take out the spirit stones with his other hand. Every time he took out one, he paused and then threw it away. After such a stalemate for a full hour, Zhu Feng did not break out of the formation, but the formation set up by Zhu Yun was almost formed. Until the large formation outside suddenly flashed with countless starlights, forming a series of formation patterns. Zhu Yun's tired face finally showed a smile. He no longer controlled the 9 turns and 9 suns formation, but allowed Zhu Feng to rush out from it. Zhu Yun, you have no chance. Zhu Feng roared in ecstasy, and when he was about to split the space, he heard Zhu Yun open his mouth and come. Welcome to the void world. I saw his hands gently lifting up, and Zhu Feng's eyes suddenly darkened. What formation is this? He exclaimed and lost contact with the demon refining tower again. Then, countless stars appeared, seemingly in front of him, but thousands of miles away. This is the star-moving formation. Zhu Yun's voice came from all directions, as if he had been controlled by the formation. Zhu Feng was so frightened that he dared to stay where he was. He ran rampant, but he couldn't find a way out at all. He knew the 9 revolutions and 9 yang formation well, and that was because he had studied hard for a period of time. But the star-shifting formation is Tang Liwen's true legacy. Apart from Tang Liwen, the only one in the world who knows this formation is Zhu Yun. He wishes the wind, how can it break through? Stars, rise. Zhu Yun stood there and uttered 3 words lightly. Countless stars suddenly moved. They were far or near, flying towards Zhu Feng one after another, holding up long star tails, and gradually gathered together to form an extremely dreamy meteor shower. Feeling this terrifying power, I wish Fengmian was ashen as death. If he was outside the tower, he could also use the demon refining tower to smash it over with brute force. No matter how you change it, I can do it even 10 times. The demon refining tower can trap the demon king, and presumably it can also break through the formation that Zhu Yun has set up during this period of pill formation. But at this time, he was in the formation and lost contact with the demon refining tower. What should he do? As the scale of the meteor shower became larger and larger, Zhu Feng's clothes gradually became soaked. Both hands grasped the pole of the Ghost King flag tightly, almost breaking it. Is it finally over? I, Zhu Feng, am not Zhu Yun's opponent. Dead. Okay, I'm so tired from this journey. Zhu Feng gradually closed his eyes, his vision returned to darkness, and he had nothing to do except wait for death. Feng Daddy tells you, your brother is an immortal master. We, Mr. Zhu, will leave the matter of honoring our ancestors to him, and the matter of passing on the family line will be left to you in the future. Feng your father is partial. If you want to become an immortal, you can become an immortal. Mother supports you. If your father dares to stop you, Mother will take you back to your grandma's house. Suddenly, 2 figures appeared in his mind. It was Zhu Rong and his biological mother. The 2 of them lived separately and did not interfere with each other. They kept saying the same words over and over again. Dad. Mom. Zhu Feng suddenly opened his eyes, and there was no one at all. It's still that void? But, why is the meteor shower gone? Zhu Feng was shocked and his face was full of disbelief. Zhu Yun shows mercy and wants to let me go? Impossible. Zhu Feng was suspicious by nature. Even if he just thought he was going to die, he didn't think Zhu Yun would let him go. In fact, Zhu Rong's vision was just his last memory before his death. But why is there no movement in this so-called star-shifting formation? He had no idea that it wasn't that Zhu Yun didn't kill him, but that a sudden change occurred in the demon refining tower, and he had no time to take care of himself. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. I started my cultivation by picking up the immortal skills. Author, Banzuan Xianxia. Chapter 579. Sangu, what's wrong with you? Zhu Yun had already left the Dozhuan Seeing Shift formation, and kept retreating with the three dogs, while he kept shouting and cursing. Master, I don't know. The three dogs were held up by their necks, their feet lifted off the ground, and they said with a mournful face. Originally, these puppets in the pill formation stage were under his control. After Zhu Yun used the formation to trap Zhu Feng, Sangu also made the puppets stop. But who would have thought that after Zhu Yunbu was aggressive in the Dozhuan star movement formation, these puppets suddenly rebelled, lost control, and wildly attacked the Dozhuan star movement formation. Zhu Yun was naturally able to detect any unusual movements outside the formation, but thinking that Zhu Feng was in a certain death situation, he immediately came out of the formation. Compared to Zhu Feng, he felt that Sangu's life was much more important. He was afraid that these puppets would suddenly attack Sangu. Even if Sangu gets a scratch on his skin, he will definitely die. The difference between the two realms is no joke. You don't know? Then your stick will become a dog-beating stick. Zhu Yun snatched the stick from his hand. Originally, in the pasture, Sangu used this stick to train the puppets, causing them to form an instinctive reaction. The effect is really good. But at this time, it was useless. These puppets, like sharks that smelled blood in the water, swarmed towards them crazily. If that doesn't work, then go back first and then talk about it. Zhu Yun put the wooden stick back into Sangu's hand and sent him back to the pasture. Then he freed his hand, held the chaos sword in his hand, and slashed out of the void. The purple thunder spirit sword energy drew a huge straight line and blasted towards the 50 puppets. But who would have thought that these puppets could dodge from both sides very skillfully and avoid Zhu Yun's attack? How is this possible? Zhu Yun secretly said that it was not good. He had fought against the puppets. There were a total of 300 puppets at that time, but he finally killed 250 of them. Most of them were killed by the self-destruction formation, but some were killed by Zhu Yun himself. Having had experience in fighting, Zhu Yun still had some understanding of the fighting consciousness of these puppets. He is not afraid of death, more like a dead soldier. As long as you can hurt the opponent, you can risk your own life by biting off a piece of meat. But in front of me, it looks more like there is intelligence. What's going on? Why did you suddenly lose control? Zhu Yun was confused and decided to retreat for the time being. The one who is horizontal is afraid of being stunned, and the one who is stunned is afraid of losing his life. These puppets are desperate for their lives now, but they are the kind of puppets who will not die in vain. Unless Zhu Yun can be made to pay the price. It's really tricky. Why did these puppets suddenly become smart? Could it be that they have developed intelligence? The immortal mansion was so mysterious that Zhu Yun couldn't help but wonder if it was related to the nourishment of spiritual energy in the pasture. The spiritual power in the entire immortal mansion is transformed from the power of chaos. It is extremely pure. It is impossible to say that it is really like this. But suddenly, Zhu Yun remembered, hadn't he learned the puppet soul control technique? He could completely control these puppets. Thinking of this, his face lit up, and he immediately used his soul power to try to establish contact with the puppet at the forefront. But soon, his expression froze, and at the same time there was a bang in his head, as if a piece of meteorite had fallen thousands of miles away and hit him. Puff. The red blood spurted out like it was free of charge. Zhu Yun's body was also affected, and he retreated towards the rear at a very fast speed. Ha ha ha, boy, how can you understand the ability of my puppet controlling demon sect when you are just a young person in the pill formation stage? A crazy voice suddenly sounded in his head. It's Wu Chideo. Zhu Yun's face turned pale and he couldn't help but look towards the Muling Sacred Mountain. It's not too far away. How did he know that Wu Chideo was recultivating in the 9th generation? Although his realm was only at the peak of the late stage of Dan formation and was jointly suppressed by the ancestral tree and the wood spirit sacred mountain at this time, his soul strength was no higher than that of the average nascent soul stage. Weak. These puppets were originally refined by him, and the puppet soul pills they took were fed by him himself. In other words, these puppets, after Zhu Yun summoned them, have become Wu Chideo's means of counterattack. However, Wu Chideo has been sensing the external situation through his soul power. If he hadn't suffered a huge loss at the hands of Zhu Yun, he might have taken action long ago. Just in time, seeing Zhu Yun in the formation and the puppet motionless, he immediately wrested control from Sangu and planned to destroy the formation. This move has two purposes. One is to destroy the formation. If it can explode and kill Zhu Yun, that would be great. Secondly, if the formation cannot explode, but it can be destroyed and Zhu Feng is released, I think I will be able to deal with Zhu Yun for a long time. He never intended to reveal that he was responsible. But Zhu Yun actually used his soul to contact the puppet without hesitation, and he immediately found an opportunity to fight back. Through his soul strength that far exceeded Zhu Yun, he directly shocked his soul. However, he was a little surprised. Zhu Yun's soul was weaker than his, but not much weaker than the ordinary nascent soul stage. To put it bluntly, he was overconfident. Otherwise, Zhu Yun must be an idiot at this time. No, Wu Chideo must have given these puppets a killing order. It's useless no matter how far I escape. I have no choice but to forcibly cut off the connection between them. There was blood on the corner of Zhu Yun's mouth. He didn't have time to wipe it off before he immediately ran towards Muling Holy Mountain. Behind him, those puppets were chasing after him, and they really wanted to put Zhu Yun to death. Ancestral Tree, Das Han, I will put you away first. Zhu Yun didn't care that Wu Chideo would appear in his immortal mansion. If he had put away the ancestral tree and the wood spirit sacred mountain earlier, such an accident might not have happened. The place where the ancestral tree was at that time was hundreds of miles away from the lake. No matter how strong his soul power was, he could not contact the puppets hundreds of miles away. At this time, put them away first, then surrender the puppets again, and finally settle the score with Zhu Feng. Zhu Yun used the corner of his eye to look at the star movement formation not far away. Although the formation was slightly damaged, it was not a problem to trap Zhu Feng. Tang Liwen could trap Tianzhenzi, the first formation master in the Peepa realm, for 3 hours, so he could trap Zhu Yun and Zhu Feng for 1 hour. Isn't that too much? Zhu Yun used a lightning escape technique and flashed in front of the ancestral tree. With a glance, he took the ancestral tree into the immortal mansion ranch without hesitation. Together with the wood spirit sacred mountain, they all disappeared together. Call. Zhu Yungang breathed a sigh of relief, but he never thought that a huge amount of demonic spiritual power suddenly surged towards him. Ha ha ha, I got out of trouble? Boy, Wu Chideo, have to thank you. The Muling Holy Mountain disappeared, and Zhu Yun's feet were empty. He was floating in the air, and was falling slowly, but Wu Chideo's proud smile rang out. Suddenly, the hair on Zhu Yun's body stood up, and he had no time to think about why Wu Chideo escaped from the trap, even if he used the thunder escape technique to dodge. But Wu Chideo, how could he be the kind of person Yi Xianxia is? In order to trap Wu Chideo, Zhu Yun used all his trump cards. In the entire mortal world, there was no one who knew Zhu Yun best than him. Die. Wu Chideo was a little slower, but the timing was perfect. When Zhu Yun's figure just flashed, Wu Chidao was ready for teleportation, and happened to appear beside Zhu Yun. He raised his palm and slapped Zhu Yun on the back. Not good. Zhu Yun's face changed drastically, and his brain could not react at all, but the chaos sword in his hand moved and was freely held behind his back. Keng. The thick palm, the spiritual power of the half-infant realm, was directly slapped on the chaos sword. Good boy, this sword is indeed extraordinary. If I had known it would be at the auction, I would have snatched it away no matter what. Wu Chidao was surprised and happy. What was surprising was that his full palm strike on the chaos sword actually caused no damage at all. What was happy was that now that he had the upper hand, Zhu Yun was seriously injured again, and he used the crossbow to in the end, this sword will naturally be mine. Wishful thinking. Zhu Yun's soul was damaged and he was extremely tired. Taking advantage of Wu Chidao's blow, he quickly took out a handful of fire dragon pill and swallowed it directly. Warmth arose in his belly, and Zhu Yun became slightly more awake. He knew that he could not fight forcefully in front of him, so he ran straight into the distance. Want to run away? I know this is the demon refining tower. You trapped the tower owner in it, and it's even more difficult to find an exit. Wu Chidao has lived for thousands of years, so of course he has heard of the demon refining tower. However, he is practicing the 9th-generation demonic skill, and any external objects will not have much effect on him. He even knew that the demon control holy sect wanted to seize the demon refining tower. It's just that he is happy to see the people realm in chaos. In this way, other people's attention is less likely to be focused on him. But the lack of memory made Wu Chidao even more cautious. He hid in the pet pavilion and collected the materials he needed for his 9th turn. To say that living an ignoble existence is a bit too much, but hiding one's strength and biding time is almost the same. But everything about him was ruined by Zhu Yun. Wu Chidao's teleportation was unable to gain the upper hand over chasing Zhu Yun. But Zhu Yun's soul was damaged and he still had a slight lag when he used the thunder escape technique. One thing was going down, the other was going up. Zhu Yun could not get rid of Wu Chidao. But fortunately, he did not lose much spiritual power, and after taking a lot of fire dragon pills, the flower power turned into fiery red spiritual power, which gathered towards the chaos seed, and then transformed into chaos force, constantly added. Under this situation, the two of them were in tandem, and no one could escape or catch up. Until, Zhu Yun finally discovered a hill in the distance. There was a flash of light in his eyes, and there was a calculation in his heart. Wu Chidao didn't know which door went where. The light door at the top of the mountain leads to the 2nd level. At the foot of the mountain, it is left. You can't let him go out, otherwise the people realm will be devastated sooner or later. We can only keep him in the demon refining tower. It's best to kill each other with Zhu Feng, and in the end I will benefit. In just a moment, Zhu Yun made up his mind, and he got into the light door on the 2nd floor without hesitation. This is. Wu Chidao was a little hesitant, but gritted his teeth and chased after him. Because his Sumi ring was taken away by Zhu Yun. Inside, there were the treasures of heaven and earth that he had collected for a long time and needed for the last turn. Thinking of this, he quickly passed through the light door. But when I first appeared on the 2nd floor, I found that there was no one around. Where are the people? Suddenly, Wu Chidao became a little cautious and did not dare to move randomly again. In Qingyu Town, Zhu Yun used Chaos Palm to injure him. Unless he uses the 9-turn magic power to create a clone, otherwise. I started my cultivation by picking up the immortal skills. Author, Banzuan Xianxia. Chapter 580. Wu Chidao was extra careful. He fought Zhu Yun twice, and it seemed like he had the upper hand every time. But in the end, he suffered a big loss. As the saying goes, things can only come in threes. Wu Chidao finally escaped from being suppressed because of Zhu Yun's mistake. Naturally, it is impossible for him to be fooled again. But he never thought that Zuyun actually had no intention of ambush here. Wu Chidao carefully released his spiritual consciousness. The reason why he didn't use the 9 generations demonic power to create 8 clones was actually to paralyze Zuyun. If Zuyun was hiding nearby, one might guess that he was affected by the suppression, so he couldn't use it. After cultivating for 9 generations, Wu Kai's Taoist city is so deep that no one can compare to it. But after searching here for a long time, he didn't find Zuyun taking any action, and he couldn't help but feel a little suspicious. Could this kid have fled directly to the depths of the Demon Refining Tower? It is said that the Demon Refining Tower has 9 floors. Is it possible that he wants to go to the 9th floor to master this tower? Thinking of this, Wu Chidao couldn't help but feel shocked. He was not interested in the Demon Refining Tower, but it didn't mean that he didn't know how powerful the Demon Refining Tower was. There is still a light door here, I'm afraid that kid has passed by. Wu Chidao looked to his side, and another light door was shining brightly. After thinking for a moment, he immediately rushed in. The 3rd level is no different from the 2nd level. When you come out of the light door, there is another light door leading to the next level. Repeat this until you reach the 9th level. But until Wu Chidao rushed to the bottom floor, he still didn't find Zuyun. He frowned and said to himself, is this kid hiding on one of the floors? As soon as he thought about it, Wu Chidao immediately found a way to deal with it. In a flash of his body, he used the 9 generations demonic skill and transformed into 8 bodies. Humph, I'll keep one body at a time and see where you can escape to. The 8 bodies are all Wu Chidao. Without Zuyun, there will be no benefit to him hiding his clumsiness. He planned to kill Zuyun directly in the Demon Refining Tower. Wu Chidao left a body on the 1st floor of the first 8 floors, but he didn't know that when he rushed all the way to the 9th floor, Zuyun had already taken the opportunity to escape to the light door on the 1st floor. Previously, he had escaped Wu Chidao's pursuit by hiding all the way to the 4th floor, and then found a corner to hide. After seeing Wu Chidao pursue him with his own eyes, he turned back and rushed to the 1st floor without any hesitation. If he wanted to leave at this time, he could do so at any time. However, there was still a chance to kill Wu Chidao, and he didn't want to give up. Seeing that on the top of the 1st floor, Wu Chidao was firmly guarding the entrance to the 2nd floor and did not move, Zuyun had more or less guessed it. This Wu Chidao must have used that magic power to transform into 8 bodies. I believe he also guarded the other doorways. Zuyun also frowned. If Wu Chidao was a clone, he would have no way to kill him. The ancestral tree's vitality was severely damaged, but even if it was intact, it could not trap Wu Chidao at the same time. Is there nothing we can do? Zuyun's heart sank, and he wanted to stay at the foot of the mountain and take a look while Wu Chidao didn't notice him. Anyway, if you want to escape, you can escape from the Demon Refining Tower at any time. In this way, Wu Chidao guarded the light door on each floor, while Zuyun guarded the exit. Both of them remained motionless, wary of each other. Fortunately, Zuyun was in the dark and Wu Chi was in the light, so he could clearly see the other party's movements. Just a few hours passed without any movement from Wu Chidao. It seems that Wu Chidao has vowed not to stop until he kills me. What should I do to kill him? Zuyun racked his brains and found no countermeasures at all. After another half an hour, a roaring sound suddenly came from the distant sky. He shrank down and hid himself behind the light door, then turned his head to look, and couldn't help but exclaimed in his heart. Zhu Feng. He actually came out of the Dozhuan seeing shifting formation. But after exclaiming, an idea flashed in Zuyun's mind. I have no helpers, so I wonder if I can let Zhu Feng and Wu Chidao fight first? Let's see. It doesn't matter what method Zhu Feng used to get out of the formation. Seeing how menacing he is, there is no chance that he will fight with Wu Chidao. The snipe and the clam are fighting. I don't think I can be like that fisherman. Zuyun rolled his eyes and used the golden escape technique to turn himself into a piece of metal ore. This place is not conspicuous. As long as you don't look carefully, you will definitely not find Zuyun's location. Moreover, Zuyun also decided that if these two people couldn't fight, then he would have no choice but to escape from the demon refining tower without saying anything and then make plans. At the light gate on the top of the mountain, Wu Chidao also discovered Zhu Feng coming here. He raised his brows and said in a commanding tone, "Are you the master of the demon refining tower? Please contact the demon refining tower quickly to see if you can find that boy." Zhu Feng was unhappy in his heart. He finally escaped from the Dozhuan scene shifting formation. The anger from the previous experience of life and death had not yet passed. At this time, he was ordered by Wu Chidao again. He immediately said with disdain, "Who do you think you are? In my territory you dare to give me orders." Wu Chidao was stunned for a moment, then sneered, "Boy, you are only in the late stage of pill formation, do you deserve to talk to me like this? Do you know who I am?" Zhu Feng is not an easy person to deal with. In the demon refining tower, he has even experienced the nascent soul stage, let alone Wu Chidao, who only has the peak aura of the late stage of Den formation. And slapped Wu Chidao with a palm. "I don't care who you are. In this demon refining tower, I want to coil up a dragon and lie down on a tiger." The huge demonic power turned into a giant black palm and hit Wu Chidao directly. Boom! With the applause, Wu Chidao's figure was immediately smashed into pieces. Looking at Wu Chidao who had disappeared, Zhu Feng said, "You dare to yell in front of me? Do you think everyone is Zuyun and dare to challenge me?" After that, he planned to pass through the light door and return to the 9th floor. At this time, when he saw Wu Chidao dying so easily, he felt even more disdainful. He also despised the master of the demon sect who had practiced for 9 generations. That was all. Unexpectedly, a figure took one step ahead of him and came from the 2nd floor to the 1st floor. "Boy, you can't kill me. Be honest and find out where that boy is. Otherwise, don't force me to take it out on you." Wu Chidao suppressed the anger in his heart and said. If he hadn't been able to find Zuyun's whereabouts, Zhu Feng would have had nothing to use in front of him. "You are not dead." Zhu Feng squinted his eyes and felt that the aura of Wu Chidao who came this time was no different, and he was extremely surprised. "You can't even kill me in the 2 transformation stages, so you can only choose to suppress me. If you want to kill me, you are too young." Wu Chidao raised his eyebrows and said, "Boy, if you can't help me find that boy, you have no need to live. No matter how mysterious the demon refining tower is. If I wanted to, I could have done it thousands of years ago. Take it, where will it be your turn?" Zhu Feng's eyes flickered, and after thinking for a moment, he said, "Senior, but Zuyun is still in the demon refining tower." "That boy's name is Zuyun?" "Yes, he is still in the tower. I used my magic power to separate 8 incarnations and guard the light gates on each floor. He has nowhere to escape. It's just the space in the tower, it's so vast, if I try to search for it separately, it's like searching for a needle in a haystack. At the same time, that kid has many tricks and methods, but I can't do anything with him." "Senior, what you mean is, to cooperate with Junior." Zhu Feng was very thick-skinned. Knowing that the person he had just killed was Wu Chidao's clone, his mind immediately became more active and he spoke much more politely. "Wasn't it just for the magical power of the demon sect leader that he brought him in together with the wood spirit Holy Mountain? It seems that I am still a little underestimated." Wu Chidao sneered and said, "If you cooperate, cooperate. Boy, don't think that I don't know what you are thinking. You want to learn my 9 life magic skill, right?" Being exposed to his face, Zhu Feng was not angry, and simply said bluntly, "Yes, if the senior can teach the junior the cultivation method of the 9 worlds demonic art, kill Zuyun, and the junior should help wholeheartedly." "Humph, Wu Chidao snorted coldly and said, "Boy, the 9 generations demonic kung fu is a technique passed down from the spiritual world. Every time you practice to the nascent soul stage, you have to stop practicing and practice again at the chi refining stage. After practicing for the 9th life, the last time you break through to the nascent soul stage, you will truly achieve the ultimate level of magic. Not only will you be invincible at the same level, but you will also be able to kill enemies at higher levels. I don't care whether I will teach you this magic power, it's up to you." Practicing for thousands of years. Zhu Feng was shocked and said, "Senior, do you want to practice to the nascent soul stage 9 times? Seeing this, Wu Chidao showed disdain and said, "All magic skills are fast and powerful. Although I don't know what kind of magic skills a person has practiced, his bones are so light that he has already reached the late stage of pill formation. But in fact, the foundation in your body must be unstable, right? Even if you have extraordinary talents, you can successfully conceive a baby. But at that time, your demon baby may take control of your body at any time. You are not you. You are a monster who only knows how to kill. The 9 generations of demon power are different. Every time you reach the nascent soul stage, it is equivalent to experiencing a derangement. This time, no matter how strong the 9th demon Yuanying is, he can't take your body. If not, it would be impossible for the demon cultivator to break through to the god transformation stage." Zhu Feng's heart sank and he said, "Senior, they all say that there is no time to cultivate immortality. What does it matter if you have to cultivate again in the 9th life? If you can't prove the great way, everything is meaningless. I will definitely be able to survive, Senior. If you teach me these magical skills, I am willing to become my disciple." After saying that, he knelt down on the ground, kowtowed 3 times and bowed 9 times, and just performed the master salute. Wu Chidao's eyes flashed. This boy was arrogant at first, but he was so humble later. He was a capable person. If he can really practice the 9 generations demonic skill in the future, his achievements will be far beyond his own. But how can it be so easy to practice for 9 lives? Wu Chidao didn't even remember whether he had practiced for 3,000 years or 4,000 years. At that time, I must have already become a powerful person in the spiritual world, preparing to ascend to enlightenment, right? There is no threat to yourself at all. Okay, since you are so sincere, then help me find Zhu Yun's location first. As long as you kill him, I will naturally teach you the magic power." Hearing this, Zhu Feng was overjoyed, but also had a flash of killing intent.